The story of Meghan Markle's fall from Hollywood grace didn't explode overnight with one scandalous headline or a single disastrous moment. No, it unfolded quietly, almost imperceptibly, until suddenly, it couldn't be ignored. When Meghan first relocated to California, she was welcomed like Hollywood's golden ticket. She carried with her the mystique of royalty, a rare fusion of glamour and power that the entertainment world feeds on. Invitations flooded in, exclusive photo ops were arranged, and industry insiders whispered about her becoming a major power player. For a moment, it genuinely looked like Meghan had cracked a code no one else could. She was both royal and celebrity, a living headline. But beneath the surface, tiny cracks were already forming. Relationships that should have been nurtured were treated like stage props, and the very people who could have been allies began to feel more like stepping stones. There wasn't one big turning point. Instead, it was a slow buildup of decisions that quietly alienated the powerful network she had worked to enter. Hollywood may appear like an endless playground of opportunities, but in reality, it's a tight, interwoven ecosystem built on trust, loyalty, and discretion. Once whispers about your reliability begin, doors don't slam shut right away. They close softly, one by one, until suddenly, you find yourself standing outside. And that's exactly what happened to Meghan. Industry insiders began picking up on her style of networking. It felt transactional, more like collecting influential names than forming authentic bonds. People began to share quiet stories about how some of her earliest friendships had fizzled out. Connections with figures like Jessica Mulroney and Millie McIntosh didn't just fade. They were cited as examples of relationships dropped once they no longer served her goals. That perception of using people and then discarding them began colliding with her high-profile public moves. Take the Oprah interview, for instance. To Meghan, it may have been a bold declaration of independence, but to Hollywood's elite, it was a warning shot. They weren't worried about the monarchy's secrets. They were thinking, if she'll publicly air the private affairs of a 1,000-year-old royal institution, what might she say about us? The entertainment industry thrives on image control, and the fear of betrayal runs deep. Quietly but steadily, A-listers who had once welcomed her began to step back. Invitations thinned. PR teams started advising their clients to keep a safe distance. It wasn't dramatic. No big fallout splashed across headlines. It was subtle. Guest lists were rearranged. Photo ops were avoided. At some events, celebrities even made discreet early exits once they realized Meghan was in attendance. It wasn't personal revenge. It was self-preservation. No one wanted to risk their brand by standing next to someone who had become synonymous with unpredictable drama. Ironically, Meghan once imagined herself as the ultimate bridge, the glamorous link between Hollywood and the royal world. Instead, she became the cautionary tale whispered in boardrooms about how not to mistake access for influence. The speed of her reputation's reversal stunned even seasoned insiders. At first, magazines couldn't get enough of Meghan and Prince Harry. They were hailed as Hollywood's new power couple. Headlines predicted blockbuster deals, global collaborations, and endless opportunities. Fast forward just a few years, and those same publications now cover stories of Meghan being frozen out, uninvited from major parties, avoided by former friends. Industry veterans now use her story as a teaching example, a case study in how rapid ascents can turn into dramatic collapses when relationships are mishandled. From being celebrated as a fearless disruptor, Meghan is now viewed by some insiders as the ultimate example of self-sabotage in real time. Hollywood thrives on collaboration built on trust, shared benefit, and subtlety. But Meghan, insiders say, developed a reputation for the opposite. Friends and collaborators began to feel like characters in a script, useful for a scene, but disposable when their role was done. And it wasn't just critics saying this. It was reflected in the behavior of former allies who simply stopped returning calls or extending invitations. Some of the biggest cracks appeared in public fallouts. One infamous example, Meghan allegedly accused Victoria Beckham of leaking personal details to the press. To suggest that someone with Victoria's global fashion empire and deep royal ties was engaging in petty betrayal didn't just seem paranoid. It made Meghan appear ungrateful and insecure. The Beckhams, unsurprisingly, aligned more firmly with William and Kate afterward, cementing their position within the royal-friendly circles. A similar pattern emerged with George and Amal Clooney. They'd attended the royal wedding, But insiders say there wasn't much of a real friendship anchoring that gesture. The superficial nature of the connection quickly became obvious to Hollywood observers. And Hollywood has a sharp instinct for inauthenticity. Nothing turns people off faster than feeling like they're being used as set decoration. The business side of things mirrored these social fractures. Meghan and Harry's high-profile Netflix deal, worth a reported $87 million, was announced with great fanfare. But inside boardrooms, executives began to whisper about lackluster performance. Unlike other creators who build organic buzz and excitement, Meghan's projects often faded from public conversation within weeks of release. One executive even described her as the most high-maintenance, low-yield talent we've ever worked with. That assessment spread quietly but swiftly, and once it's out there, it shapes industry perception fast. Rather than recalibrating, Meghan reportedly began spinning conspiracy theories. She became convinced that shadowy Hollywood forces were deliberately sabotaging her work. One striking example, she allegedly claimed that Taylor Swift's engagement announcement with Travis Kelce was timed specifically to overshadow the launch of her lifestyle series. To many, that theory sounded outlandish. Taylor Swift runs a global empire. The idea that she'd plan her personal life around Meghan's release schedule left people shaking their heads. But Meghan's inner circle heard variations of these claims repeatedly. To executives, this painted a worrying picture. Someone spiraling into paranoia, seeing enemies in every corner. And once colleagues sense that kind of mindset, collaboration becomes nearly impossible. The clearest sign of her industry isolation came from an unexpected source, Dolly Parton. Dolly is widely admired as one of the kindest, most supportive figures in entertainment. Her refusal to collaborate with Meghan spoke volumes. Reportedly, Meghan convinced herself that Dolly's decision was orchestrated by Kate Middleton, another conspiracy that raised eyebrows. If she was willing to pull Dolly Parton into royal drama, insiders wondered, who would feel safe working with her? In an industry built on fragile egos and careful brand management, this was the final straw. When Dolly says no, Hollywood listens. Her quiet refusal signaled, louder than any tabloid, that Meghan had become untouchable. And it shows, not just behind closed doors, but in public. At major events, you can see it in the way A-listers subtly shift positions to avoid being photographed with her. Paparazzi shots reveal her isolation in crowded rooms, groups subtly repositioning, stars changing direction, and Meghan standing alone in the middle of glittering scenes. For someone who once craved validation through these elite circles, that silent avoidance has become one of her most humiliating storylines. The deeper problem? She has nothing left to leverage. Before marrying Harry, Meghan was a moderately successful actress. Her Duchess title catapulted her into global recognition. But that power came from the royal connection, not her Hollywood credentials. When she severed ties with the royal family and then publicly criticized them, she destroyed the very currency that made her valuable in the entertainment world. Hollywood doesn't reward titles, it rewards the access, mystery, and prestige those titles can bring. Without that, she's competing in a crowded lifestyle influencer market against personalities with bigger platforms, better reputations, and more cultural relevance. The ripple effects are clear in the company she keeps. Once, she mingled with the Beckhams, the Clooneys, and top-tier celebrities. Now, her collaborations lean toward figures with their own controversies. Her partnership with Chrissy Teigen's lifestyle brand, for instance, wasn't seen as a power move. It was seen as evidence of a shrinking Rolodex. Even the Kardashian clan, notorious for thriving on publicity and spectacle, has kept its distance, when even they consider the risks greater than the rewards. That says everything. Inside Netflix, the frustration is palpable. Executives have reportedly described meetings where Meghan blamed poor viewership on targeted sabotage rather than weak execution. She demanded star-level promotional treatment, but delivered content that failed to generate organic buzz. Instead of adapting and learning from missteps, she doubled down on the idea that powerful forces were trying to crush her. For companies investing millions, that's not just frustrating, it's untenable. Hollywood rewards adaptability, humility, and long-term relationship building. Meghan's inability to embrace those values has become her Achilles heel. Her treatment of close allies only reinforced that perception. Friends like Jessica Mulroney, once fiercely loyal, were cut off. Supporters like Millie McIntosh were sidelined when they no longer fit her projected image. To Hollywood, those patterns spoke volumes. If she could so easily discard old friends, what hope did new partners have? And in Hollywood, reputations travel faster than any PR campaign. Meghan's reputation has become a red flag, a caution label whispered in agency meetings. Perhaps the saddest element of this entire saga is its finality. Hollywood has a short memory for small mistakes, but it never forgets a burned bridge, especially one set ablaze publicly. Meghan can't undo the explosive royal interviews or reclaim the magical aura of that royal wedding guest list. The royal family has moved forward, surrounded by admiration and unwavering celebrity support. Meanwhile, Meghan stands on the outside, weaving theories about betrayal, a figure once hailed as a modern icon, now held up as a cautionary tale in the very industry she hoped to conquer. And that is how Meghan Markle's Hollywood chapter went from golden promise to whispered warning.